One additional perspective, what I would like to get from both of you, since being a female leader and now Neil being like a male leader, does that make a difference or does that make empathetic listening or any empathetic skill easier or harder, either on like while working with yourself or while working with a male or female leader on the other side?
Yeah, it's interesting. To be honest, I don't really think much about being female or not female on my day to day. It's not something that's in the top of my mind, but I do think it has affected me because there have been times where, many times, especially younger in my career, where I was the manager and I would walk into a meeting and they would all address the people that were beneath me, but they were men. And I had that proverbial seat at the table. I had to be a little more aggressive. That word has a bad connotation, but I had to work hard to make sure that people were listening to me instead of other people, because they tend to ask the questions to the male instead of the female at the table. I think that is changing a lot in the workforce now, which is fabulous. I think it's a far more diverse workforce. And I don't think it's as big a deal to have a female boss as it was when I first started working, but it has shaped my style. And I think having these mentors that were men actually helped me a lot because they gave me a perspective of how they were that I wouldn't have necessarily learned on my own.
Neil, would you like to add anything to that?
Similar to Tina, I don't think that I spend a lot of time thinking about who I'm working with from a male female perspective, but certainly it's funny when I look back, the majority of my career has been shaped by strong women. And Tina and I work in an industry that is pretty heavily male dominated and a little more, I would say, traditional, almost antiquated at this point, because we work in a space where there are a lot of men who still scribe to that philosophy. At the end of the day, production and capability is genderless. It's without race, it's without none of it matters when it comes to how you work and how you operate. And in fact, the reverse is true. Diverse perspectives, Tina's perspective working as a woman in this industry, my perspective working as an openly gay man in this industry, has shaped the way that we lead. And I think it's a perspective that is important because we're coming at it and we're able to solve problems from different viewpoints. And then the rest of it, honestly, there's a lot of talk around it, but it really shouldn't matter. And it's our job to dismantle this as we move forward, and look at things from a gender blind and race blind and background blind perspective. Because some of the most successful organizations, and many studies have shown this, have a significant diversity of thought, which comes from a diversity of worldview. And so I think that's critical to being successful in this day and age.
Thank you. I think that's so meaningful, Neil, what you shared, that these are really genderless skills or abilities and very human, I would say very human abilities. And Tina, again, I think you mentioned something wonderful, that like those diverse perspectives can confront us in the short term, but they can also be very necessary for our growth in the long term. And many of our growth moments are our unconscious biases being challenged by a different perspective. And that could be through gender, but that could be through any other different point of view.